Hey everyone, I'm going to give my opinion on writer's block. In and of itself, it doesn't actually exist. No, it does not. It's not an actual mental disorder. Psychiatrists don't even see it as one. It does not exist in and of itself. To me, it is an umbrella phrase for a hell of a lot of other issues. Now, one dictionary definition labelled writer's block as anything that gets in the way of writing. That would be called life. Life gets in the way of writing. Many authors don't believe in it, many do. But to figure it out, here's some questions to ask yourself. And this is what I asked myself. First one being, why can't I write? I sat down at my desk, I had my notebook in front of me, had my pen in my hand. 20 minutes later, it's like, why can't I write? And then I asked myself the more important question of, why don't I want to? And believe me, you'll find a whole list of things that'll roll out of your brain, because I certainly did. That's actually probably the one question you should always, why don't I want to? Why don't I want to write? Now, the answers I came up with was, I'm distracted. I had a million other things to do on the to-do list to be done. Now, it could also be called life, health, work, kids, sport, disease, caring, elderly, parents, tiredness, appointments, surgeries, etc. It could also be a lack of inspiration, which is what I also had. Nothing is inspiring you to come up with a story. You can look at a dozen pictures. Nothing is jumping out at you. You can, your favorite actor or musician isn't inspiring you. Horror pictures, if you write horror, isn't inspiring you. Your brain just can't think of anything to write. That goes hand in hand with a lack of preparation. Now, these were the three things I came up with: distraction, inspiration, and preparation. So it could be a lack of preparation. You might not be prepared in the sense you don't know what the story is yet. You might only vaguely know what the story is yet. You haven't written out a plot line. You may need to. You have no idea what points you want in that plot line or the story, or when you want them, or you don't have your characters defined in your head yet and what they look like or what they do or how they are or how they figure into the story. The list can go on and on and on. So for me personally, when I asked myself, why don't I want to? It's because I was distracted by the million other things. It's because I wasn't inspired. It's because I wasn't prepared. I basically had nothing. Now, sometimes it could also be as simple, the answer, as your brain just not wanting to fucking write. Sometimes it could be tired. It could be burnout. I had burnout, and writer's block is not burnout. You will know when you are burnt out, when you figure it out. It took me about a year and a half to realise it. And it was because I wanted a rest from writing. I'd written over 1 million words in my Porn Star Brothers series, which is 7 massive novels, and over 1.2 million words. I was fucking exhausted in the brain. I'd been writing too much. It was just, I was done. I was burnt out. I didn't want to write another novel. I was forcing myself to write my novels for the end of the story, end of the series. And I was forcing myself to write the kids' stories that I also had to write. And it's like, why don't I want to write? And the cold hard fact was I was just too fucking exhausted, mentally exhausted. I wanted a break. Now, the next time you claim you have writer's block, I'm going to wrap this up now. Ask yourself the questions of why can't I write and why don't I want to write? See what you come up with, and you'll soon realise it's not writer's block that's stopping you. It's life. For those of us who are carers of elderly parents, or those who are looking after their kids, or those who are working 3 jobs, it is hard to set aside time for writing. And even when you do set aside that time and you sit down to write or type, depending on which way you do it, you just may not want to. And sometimes that could be your brain saying, hey, can I have a break? You can force yourself to write, and I've done that, and they came out, and I was even more exhausted afterwards. But the cold hard fact is, you just need to stop sometimes. You just need to have a break. You need to let your brain rest. You need to go and do other things. Go clean out a room, cull the house, go to the library, go to a movie, go see and go do other things. It is not writer's block. It is just life. That's all it is. It is life. There is no such thing as writer's block. It's just an umbrella phrase for a million other things. So we don't actually suffer from it. It's not a syndrome. It's not a mental illness. It's not a disease. Psychiatrists and experts will tell you it doesn't exist. It's just your brain being tired. It's just your brain not wanting to write. So the next time you think you're suffering from it, Ask yourself the questions. Why can't I write? Why don't I want to?